Hold on to your hats, crypto markets could be in for an even wilder ride. Welcome to the Daily Forkast, June the 13th, 2022. I'm Joel Flynn. Bitcoin's taken a beating, crypto's whole top 10 are licking their wounds thanks to this year's bogeyman. Inflation continues to roil markets. We've got the latest for you on what's been happening on the blockchain from Asia to the world.
Join thousands of NFT traders who already start their day on CryptoSlam.
Markets front and center this Monday. Crypto assets reeling in the wake of Friday's US inflation data. Bitcoin's performance continues to mirror other risk sectors. US markets are coming off the back of their worst week in months. On Friday, the S&P 500 posted its biggest 7-day loss since January. That was after the US Consumer Price Index rose 8.6% year on year in May. That is the largest jump in prices in more than 40 years. And crucially also bigger than expected. And the world's largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization followed, Bitcoin dropping to under $26,000 as of Monday morning Asia time. Bitcoin is now down more than 62% from last November's all-time high of over $69,000. It's not the only one suffering, of course. Cardano and Solana both dropped over 10%, the biggest losers among the top 10. Ethereum was down 9% meanwhile. The bad news: market volatility is probably going to continue. Analysts reckon the Federal Reserve is now going to raise borrowing costs by 0.75% this month. The Fed's monthly statement is due on Wednesday. Make sure you check out the latest with us at Forkast.News on that. Despite the downturn, there's still a lot of positivity about crypto's future, though. That is certainly the view coming from the Consensus 2022 conference in Austin, Texas. Our editor-in-chief, Angie Lau, caught up last week with some of the biggest movers and shakers there. Forecast's Carolyn Wright rounds up their key comments.
While the crypto market has had a rocky time of late, key industry players at Consensus 2022 were keen to tell Forecast about the bright future they see ahead. One person that sees all the market action firsthand is Brett Harrison of crypto exchange FTX.US, who explains why he's optimistic long term.
Volumes right now are definitely slowing. People are taking a step back a bit from the market as prices in general have gone down. And not just in crypto, we see sort of global asset prices, equities, bonds, in addition to crypto, all sort of down across the board. And so people are sort of taking a breather from the markets. But what we're seeing as well, especially with the venture arm of FTX and just seeing the sort of venture capital space as a whole and the institutional side that we are constantly in contact with, the interest in crypto has not waned. And so we think that's a bit of a lead lag indicator on where the market's going as a whole. There's still investment people are building, people are taking the time to really shore up their core business plans and making sure they're going to be set for the long term.
Vijay Chetty of the DeFi derivatives exchange DYDX agrees, saying that while there has been a correction in the space, particularly because of the Terra Luna meltdown, enthusiasm has only been dampened temporarily.
We're encouraged in terms of especially the interest we've seen even here in Austin this week with both strong retail as well as institutional presence, and all the institutions are really here to stay now. And so we're encouraged by that and see it more as a temporary valley in the market as opposed to, say, a big shutdown the way it might have been in prior years.
However, Chetty also says that despite recent moves on regulation, there's still a lack of clarity, and the industry needs to take care in finding a way to navigate choppy waters as that progresses. Finally, Austin Federer of the blockchain platform Solana told Forecast editor-in-chief Angie Lau why it's worth keeping an eye on venture plays in projects that may not come to fruition for another 2 to 3 years.
One of the things to do during a down market is to really invest in tooling and infrastructure that makes it easier for people to come in and build whatever you're building. So a huge amount of this funding is going towards companies that are either building like middleware or connective tissue to bring these sort of classic off-chain games into on-chain worlds too, and really developer tooling to make it easier for people to go out and start building. And that's really I would say the main takeaway from this is there are some really big work being done with large gaming studios, but there's also a lot of work being done to support the tooling that independent developers need in order to be able to easily come in and say, I've got this great idea, I've got this fun game, I'd love to build a blockchain component into it, and that they can do that as easily as they would maybe build a game for iOS or Android.
So though the market may be down right now, there are plenty of interesting developments in the crypto space that we'll be keeping watch on. For Forkast, I'm Carolyn Wright.
South Korea's crypto exchanges have agreed to new rules on tokens. Criteria for the listing and delisting of cryptocurrencies were announced today. The top 5 exchanges there have been meeting with the country's National Assembly that was organised in the wake of the Terra Luna collapse last month. Forkast's Danny Park has more.
Today's meeting of the National Assembly lasted just a couple of hours, but the new rules added to here could have long-lasting implications for Korean crypto investors. South Korea's top 5 exchanges are forming a new joint council that will set standards for listing tokens. Upbit, Bithumb, CoinOne, Corbit, and GoPax will also now have an arena to discuss problems and share innovations. Listing guidelines are expected by October, and new investors will be required to watch education videos from January. The exchanges had been summoned by authorities after May's Terra Luna collapse. The hope is this new council will help avoid a similar situation in the future. There had been criticism in the wake of that debacle that the exchange's mixed response sowed confusion among investors. Both regulators and lawmakers attended today's meeting. But while emphasizing oversight of the sector, the head of South Korea's Financial Supervisory Service, Lee Bo-kyun, said self-regulation of digital assets was still vital for the market. He added that South Korea would look to strengthen cooperation with other countries as well. For Forkast, I'm Danny Park.
All right, let's dive a little deeper into regulation now. In this week's Crypto Rising, we are joined by Annabelle Huang, Managing Partner at Amber Group. Great to have you as always, Annabelle.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
Listen, in the space of a few days, we've seen economic giants, the United States, Japan, both announcing sweeping changes to cryptocurrency legislation, perhaps the clearest evidence yet. Lawmakers are taking concrete steps to try and shore up enforceable legislation in the crypto space. Can we just get your thoughts in general on what's been happening in both of those countries?
I would say Japan is no stranger to regulation in the crypto landscape after the Mt. Gox hack and a few other exchange hacks. I would say the new proposed stablecoin related bill actually comes in a very interesting time after the whole Luna Terra USD sort of collapse in the market. So it shows that in Japan, the JFSA is actively monitoring the market and really proposing evolving regulations that caters to the market. We have recently acquired a licensed exchange in Japan, so we are actively monitoring the landscape as well. Over in the US, it is still a proposed bill for now, so we don't know what the final form would look like by the time if or when it passes in Congress. But I think it's a pretty positive milestone for the industry as well, with the bipartisan lawmakers really looking into crypto and not just saying that, oh, everything's a security, but really looking at a differentiation and having different sort of regulatory bodies looking at different types of the cryptocurrencies.
All right, let's talk more specifically about the United States. The bipartisanship, certainly a particularly interesting point in terms of the United States, but in terms of the classification of cryptocurrencies as commodities, not securities, what exactly do you think that means for investors, for the sector, both in the United States and perhaps elsewhere as well?
I would say nothing is changing, nothing is different at the moment. Again, it's a proposed bill. We still have to have it pass Congress, and it's unlikely that will happen this year. So next year also depends on the new Congress composition. So we still have to wait and see, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more tweaks and compromises coming our way in terms of what's going to be in the final bill. But like you said, right, they are looking at the different categorizations of crypto, some of the more decentralized, especially the major tokens, Bitcoin, Ethereum, will be classified as commodities under the CFTC, who has historically been, I would say, more friendly towards crypto legislation versus perhaps the SEC. So I think generally the market is feeling good about this development, but we still need to see what actually happens in the end.
In terms of precedent then, how concerned are you that other countries could now look at what's happening, especially in the United States, and perhaps take the lead? We know South Korea, for instance, has a fairly strict enforcement regime when it comes to crypto governance. What does this mean for other countries that are now looking to adopt and formulate their own policies?
US has historically been sort of the leading factor in terms of regulations in general, in terms of the financial market, and I think in crypto as well. But what we've seen in the market is that a lot of the other countries, Japan we've mentioned, Korea as well, since September last year, they've put out the new VASP related regulations specifically for crypto. In the Philippines as well, where the BSP as early as 2017 has put out crypto-specific licenses, where we are in Singapore, also in Hong Kong. All of these jurisdictions have been looking to crypto, especially after 2017, where the market put a spotlight on the asset class in general. A lot of the regulatory bodies definitely look to the development in the US, so it'll serve as somewhat of a guideline.
All right, great to get your thoughts on that, Annabelle. That was Annabelle Huang from Amber Group. And that's your daily forecast from Asia to the world. There is, of course, much more about the latest on the blockchain at Forkast.News. Do head there. Do also follow our Twitter as well, at Forkast_News. Until next time, I'm Forkast's Joel Flynn. See you then.